Hello and welcome to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Extension Office Friday. We are back on the Zooms today with Joanne Royalty. Joanne is a program associate based out of the Frederick County Extension Office, though she does serve all 5 of our surrounding counties. Joanne, as I'm sure many of you remember, is also a Northern Shenandoah Valley Master Gardener. That's typically what she is on the show talking about. If we're not talking about spotted lanternfly, which is a whole nother show that we have done many times. They are still here. I am still squashing them, Joanne, every time I see those tiny little polka dotted babies.
I think spotted lanternfly gets a bad rap, and in some cases it's well deserved, especially if you're a vineyard owner and are producing grapes for wine. I would definitely be upset about that. But I think we all need to remind ourselves that it's always something. Gilda Radner from Saturday Night Live said many years ago, it's always something. We are always going to be dealing with something, whether it's spotted lanternfly invasives, or it's a drought, or it's light pollution. We are human beings. We are impacting our environment, and we're always going to have to deal with something. Nothing is ever going to be perfect.
Speaking of drought, that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. So we had planned to have this show, one of the topics for the conversation today, to be about Waterwise gardening, because when we planned this show, we were still in the middle of the drought. Now, we've been very lucky that the drought in our area has now ended, but that to me means it's an opportunity to educate people on what they can do now outside of the drought to make the drought less impactful when it comes back around again, because it is most certainly going to come back around again.
And that is so true. And while this week we are celebrating, yay, we are out of drought conditions in this region because of how we live, of the impact we have, because of climate impact, we will be experiencing droughts again. And we have warmer climes, so they're going to be longer and more frequent. I would say to folks, celebrate. Yes, it's wonderful to see all your plants being great and green and so revitalized, but act like you need to conserve water all the time, because you do. That is a precious resource that we have, and there's a lot that we can do as homeowners, as gardeners, to conserve it. Being from New York, when I grew up, I would just turn on the tap and let it go. I'd be brushing my teeth and that tap would be running all the time. And that's such a simple thing, but that wastes so many gallons of water. So when you're thinking about things you can do to make a difference, turn off that tap unless you need it. When you're watering your garden, don't be the person who's out there at 12 noon in the blazing sun spraying the entire universe. Think about responsible ways to water, maybe early in the morning or later on in the afternoon. And don't spray the entire plant. Try to do the base of the plant and give it a nice soaking drink. Think about irrigation systems if that is something that is feasible for you. Those are always more helpful than just having that sprinkler going for a couple of hours. Rain barrels are so fun to have, and they're especially important in drought. But don't be buying one when you're in the middle of a drought, because if there's no water, it's not going to fill up that rain barrel. So think about having a rain barrel. If it works with your HOA, with where your home is, get that rain barrel and start using it now.
Let's talk about the rain barrel for a second, because you also don't have to buy a rain barrel. They are very easy to make out of something as simple as a 55-gallon trash can. They're not complicated. I've seen dozens of videos on TikTok, on YouTube, even popping up on my Facebook feed that show you how to make a rain barrel out of something you have at home. You could even use 5-gallon buckets.
Absolutely. With all this recent rain, you know that my wheelbarrow was standing out there. Didn't have it turned over. I was collecting all that rain so that I could then dump it on my garden. And yes, if I have any extra 5-gallon buckets, they're out there too. There's a wealth of information out on the internet. We have master gardeners who are passionate about making rain barrels. So if you reach out, there'll be somebody that can help guide you through the process. There's so much you can do. Many of the counties in our region offer rain barrel sales earlier in the spring. I know in Frederick we had it, and those rain barrels are either free or reduced price. So county residents do have access to rain barrels in an affordable fashion.
And reusing water is acceptable when you're talking about your garden or your flowers. I know you're going to yell at me for this, but we have an inordinate amount of half empty water bottles that sit around this house because we open one and then they sit, and then I don't want to drink out of it the next day. So they all go into my plants. I use them for the dogs. When I'm cooking, it's corn on the cob season. So when I'm done boiling that corn, I know that that corn water is very good for some of my plants. You can use all of that stuff.
Yes, yes, it's got nutrients in it. So why not? Absolutely. Don't just pour it down the drain. Now, if it's got a lot of chemicals, if you put solvents in it and you're cleaning some, that's a different thing. But
Right.
just household kitchen water, yes, absolutely use it.
You were talking earlier about not watering in the middle of the day and watering at the base versus spraying over the top. Not watering in the middle of the day is bad from a water conservation perspective, but it's also bad for anything that you're watering if you're doing it in the heat of the day. That's not healthy for the plants themselves either.
No, because plants can get sunburned and it evaporates so quickly. So all that water that you're intending for the plant's use is just evaporating into thin air. So water wisely. It's so nice to go out in the early morning when everything is quiet and the colors are fabulous and just spend some time in your garden. That's another one of my pet peeves. Sometimes we all get so intent getting those plants in the ground and fertilizing and making sure everything looks wonderful that we forget to enjoy it also. And it's nice to just be out and have some quiet time in your garden and be feeding your plants by watering them well at the appropriate time. And for those folks who have the ability to, I would say have a water feature in your garden. We put in a small pond. It's small and it's got a little fountain in, and at night I have some lights on it. And that is just wonderful to sit on the deck and hear the water sounds and appreciate everything that's out there and see those fireflies.
I just recently read an article that we could be the last generation to see fireflies at night. Please tell me that's not true.
There is a whole movement which we should discuss in detail, the dark skies movement. And yes, we are doing a lot to impact night pollinators and insects that really need the dark because we're all about illuminating everything. And illumination is not always so good.
It's not good for everybody or everything in our.
Exactly. Exactly.
The other thing that's not good are we all know that weeds are a pain. Hate to pull them, you hate to see them grow. You wonder how it is that you can get this weed. This weed grows when the plant right next to it looks like it's dying. But pulling weeds and keeping invasives out of your garden is also a water-wise tip because then they're stealing the water away from the things that you actually want to be growing and being nurtured.
Exactly. They're competing for it. Now, some people would say it's all in your perspective. What is a weed? I know people who make dandelion wine and dandelion pizza, and certainly dandelions at the beginning of the season provide a lot of food for beneficial insects. Generally speaking, you want to eliminate the weeds that you can from your garden. Make sure you've got lots of nice mulch, and please never ever do volcano mulching. I cannot say that enough. We have so many people who, because they think it's good for the tree, and they will pile up the mulch by the base of the tree so it does look like a volcano. You do not need that much mulch. You're suffocating your tree. You are going to kill it eventually if you do that. 2, 3, 4 inches of mulch. That's all you need. And there needs to be some breathing room around the tree. So don't just pile it up in this volcanic fashion. But mulch is good for all of your plants. It conserves moisture. And even though we're out of a drought right now, there's going to be another drought that comes. So if you're practicing good gardening practices now, you will be better able to fend off the next drought impact. And yeah, pull those weeds so that your wonderful native plants are not competing for the nutrients, for the water they need. Invasives in general, we're always going to have some of them. There are always going to be plant pests. So do what you can to get rid of them in a responsible fashion, because those are also stressors in a drought.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about that dark skies movement you mentioned earlier in the fireflies. Can we do that in the second segment?
Absolutely.
We are on the Zooms today for Extension Office Friday. Joanne Royalty is joining me. She is a program associate based out of the Frederick County Extension Office, though she does serve all 5 of our surrounding areas. She's also a Northern Shenandoah Valley Master Gardener. We're going to talk about fireflies when we come back in just a couple of minutes. What if one day could deliver real results for your brand and your community? On September 19th, United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley will mobilize over 900 volunteers across 6 counties for Day of Caring, the region's largest single-day volunteer event. This is your company's chance to step up. Sponsor Day of Caring and help cover vital project costs for local nonprofits, from painting and landscaping to repairs and more. You'll be recognized on volunteer shirts, signage, and media. Plus, it's a powerful team-building opportunity for your employees. Your sponsorship isn't just a donation, it's an investment in the infrastructure of care that holds this region together. Visit unitedwaynsv.org/Day of Caring or contact Day of Caring at unitedwaynsv.org. Lead with impact. Show your community what your brand stands for. Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Extension Office Friday, and we are on the Zooms today with Joanne Royalty. She is a program associate with the Frederick County Extension Office. She is also a Northern Shenandoah Valley Master Gardener. In the first segment, we talked a lot about Waterwise gardening. We are officially out of the drought, but we all know, those of us that have lived in the Shenandoah Valley for any length of time know, there's probably another one just around the corner. And with 100 plus degree days and heat indexes coming, you don't even have to be in a drought to want to conserve water. So, Joanne, we were talking about all of the different tips and things that people could be doing. And you were telling me about how you spent some time last week at Master Gardener College and what you learned there about our yards.
I did. And you and I talk often on this show, and I am just one person representing Virginia Cooperative Extension, but I hope folks know that there is a whole army of Extension Master Gardeners who also represent us and carry out our mission to educate the public around horticulture. They're at our help desks, they're out at events, they're doing farmers markets and fairs and holding sessions at libraries. Folks need to look at the Northern Shenandoah Valley Master Gardener Association website, and they can get a great picture of what's going on in their region. And I hope they will take advantage of some of the educational offerings. And also go visit your extension office. Go chat with a master gardener there at the help desk. I'm prejudiced because I'm in the Frederick office, but we cover the entire Northern Shenandoah Valley. And they're just amazing resources. So I hope folks take advantage of that. Yes, I was at Master Gardener College, and that takes place this year. It took place at Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. And it's really an incredible opportunity. We spent half a week together. These are master gardeners around the state, and we learn from each other. There are presentations by experts in the field. A lot of them are professors at Virginia Tech and surrounding regions. And it's amazing how much knowledge there is available to us to then bring back to our communities. So I'm hoping that we have more opportunities to give Extension Master Gardeners scholarships to attend this and then bring the information back to their communities. Because I get to talk to you on this show, but there's a whole force of resources out there, and people need to be aware of that.
The thing that I always try to remind people too about master gardeners is you can have friends and family that maybe are professors at a university or they're teachers at the local high school. They don't necessarily want you coming up to them randomly asking them questions about their particular topic of knowledge. But master gardeners get into being a master gardener mostly because they want to answer questions on a wide range of things. So they don't have any qualms and they're not upset at all when you come up and ask them the most random of gardening questions, because that's why they became a master gardener, was to be able to answer those questions and spread that knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. They're plant junkies, really. And when they are out in the community, just living their lives, they're at the supermarket or at the library, people will come up to them and say, "Hey, what about this? And did you see this?" They love that. So please do not be afraid to approach an extension master gardener and ask those questions. And the other part of that is that term master gardener, it implies that we are the keeper of all knowledge and everyone should know everything immediately. No, they have gone through extensive training and an extensive period of internship. But the key to their knowledge is that they're providing research based information. And they may not have the answer immediately, but they know how to research it and get back to you, which is different from providing Aunt Sally's remedies for whatever. These are folks who are sharing research based information to improve your well being.
I have to admit that I'm guilty of sometimes asking them about some of those home remedies. Like, hey, can I put my coffee grounds on my hosta? Because I've heard that's really good.
While sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The research doesn't support the home remedies. And what we've seen with some home remedies is yes, they may alleviate this problem, but what are they doing to the soil? What are they doing to the beneficial insects? What are they doing to surrounding plants? So that's why what we're about is providing the research based information, because all of those things are considered. I go back to the spotted lanternfly, and I've had folks call me up and say, "Joanne, I've figured out how to deal with them. I use a flamethrower." Well, okay, yes, that might have dealt with your immediate problem, but did it set your neighborhood on fire? Or the person who said, "I found the solution. I'm going to mix vinegar and bleach and pour it on my basil plant." I'm thinking, probably not a good thing to ingest for humans or pets. So that's why we only deal with research based information.
And it also speaks to something that you saw on a poster while you were at Master Gardener College.
I love this poster, and I'm going to figure out how to use it in so many ways. It's really about so many of the things that we've talked about on these shows, that every yard is a universe. We talk about growing native plants, removing invasives, providing habitat, promoting healthy soil. If you don't have good soil, you're probably not going to have good life. Conserving water. We're celebrating being out of the drought, but there will be another drought cycle. So think about how we conserve water all the time. Promoting healthy air. Make sure that your car is in good repair so you're not doing all these emissions. Minimize use of pesticides and fertilizers. That is one of my pet peeves. We have so many folks who call up when they have a problem, and their first question is, "What can I spray?" Well, maybe you don't have to spray anything because maybe in spraying that you're doing more harm than good. I'm not saying that there are not appropriate times to use spray, but we need to think about our yard as being that universe. And the universe is all encompassing. Just because we have a garden fence at the end of our property doesn't mean what we do there stops at the fence. It impacts our neighbors' yards and the county yards and the cities and the state, the regions, all of that. We're all in this together. So, how do we navigate it in the way that is the least impact on good life?
And that's true of light pollution. We were talking before we went to break about fireflies and the dark skies movement. That's something else that if every yard, if every homeowner or person was more cognizant of how much light they had in their space, and then you look down the street and you see all of your neighbors have outdoor lights and they have all of these other things, as you come together, that makes a lot of light.
It does. And there was a period when you could go out in your backyard and see the night sky and see lots of fireflies. I know when I was younger in Virginia, I could see that. And now fireflies, we just don't see as many. And why is that? Because a lot of times we are so concerned with having wherever we are lit up. Yes, we have to have lights for safety, but do we need our outdoor lights on 24/7 at our house? Maybe not, unless you live in a high crime neighborhood where, burglars are climbing over your fence at all hours. But realistically, could you modify your outdoor lighting so it only comes on if someone is actually accessing the property? Could you modify your outdoor lighting to not have that bright, almost blue white light, but have the more mellow, almost yellow white lights? What has happened is because of so much light pollution, a lot of the beneficial life that we know of, insects, fireflies, moths, bats, they do their work at night. And when we're having everything lit up like 4th of July, they're getting very confused and they cannot do their work. They cannot survive. They cannot populate. So, how can we, again, going back to our every yard is a universe that includes those other living things, how can we just modify some of our behaviors to make it a universe for all? Now, I'm not saying go to the ball field and talk to the manager and demand that they turn off every light when they're having a ball game. You can't do that. But you can, as an educated citizen, do your part in your yard where it makes sense.
I have conversations with Chris Conyer, who's the city parks director at Jim Barnett Park at Winchester City Parks. When they replace lights at many of their fields in the last couple of years, they've made a conscious effort to consider what type of light they're putting in. So they've gone to the LED because they do have they have
Yes.
more longevity, but they're also not as bright, and they're also very cognizant of where that light goes. So it's facing down more so than it's facing up into the sky. So even our localities are looking into this and trying to embrace the dark skies a bit more.
Yeah, I know even on my own garden paths, I've done the LEDs, but then I have those light shades over it. So it is not just blasting out into the universe. It's directed where I need it to be, which is on the path so that I can see where I'm walking. There's a lot that you can do to make your space beautiful, but also safe for all the other living things. We don't need floodlights all the time. We just don't.
There are so many options now, particularly for solar powered and motion sensors, that
Yes.
you can put as many lights as you want in your yard, and they only come on when, say, we let the dogs out at 2 a.m. We can follow them around the yard, and those lights are pointing at the yard, because if they're pointing up in the sky, we can't see the dogs on the ground.
This is so true. And I'm a gardening nut. So in my garden, I have these plant stakes, which are also solar lights, and some of them are dragonflies or flamencos. They charge up all day in the sun, and then at night, they're beautiful. So you can add beauty and safety and be respectful of all the other living things that need to do their work in the dark.
As we wrap up, I want to bring it back full circle to if someone is listening today and they're now reconsidering their lighting situation, for example, in their front yard, backyard, on their patio, on their deck, that is also something that they can reach out to a master gardener and say, hey, I would like to be better. What are some tips and suggestions that you have? Master gardeners can help with that too.
Absolutely. Master gardeners are versed in the dark skies movement. They want to ensure that your well being through horticulture is the primary concern. We're not doctors, so we're not going to advise you on getting your gallbladder out. But if it has to do with plants, if it has to do with pesticides, your soil, your environment, and how you can be the creator of your universe that is part of all the other universes out there. Yeah, we want to help. We love to help. We love to be stopped in the grocery stores, or we love to be at the other end of a phone. And it's not just Joanne, it is all the other extension master gardeners who are out there just waiting to talk to you.
And I will put links to all the extension offices in our area so people have their phone numbers and their websites. I'll put a link to the NSV MGA website, which is for the Master Gardeners, in the show notes page at thevalleytodaypodcast.com. Joanne, thank you for taking some time to chat with me today.
Always.
It's going to be a nice weekend, I believe. We're recording on, so far, a sticky Thursday morning. People are listening on what Doug Kammerer has dubbed a Fantastic Friday. So, Joanne, you and I have yet to see whether or not it's actually a Fantastic Friday. But brace yourselves for the heat next week, and I will be back on Monday with a conversation with Blue Ridge Habitat for Humanity.